Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is July 21st. The Brewers have won 10 straight and are tied with the Cubs. The Tigers have won their 60th game. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? Top of the week. It is Monday, and we've got our first series in the book of the second half of the season. The trade deadline is just ticking away here. We've got a good one for you on the docket today. Plenty of news and lots of standings check. I don't know, the feeling inside my bones is already giving pennant race and playoff chases, and we're still, 50, 60 games left for the season, and I'm already getting that I'm excited, I'm ready for this kind of stuff. So I know you guys are as well. With that all being said, let's jump in and dive into our series recap. The Giants are in Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. The Jays score 4 runs in an inning. That's all the runs in this game. 4-0 Toronto. Willie Adames gets a 2-homer game in the second game. The Jays, though, score another 4-run inning, and Tyler Heineman, he goes deep. They take a 6-3 win. And in the final game, it's another 4-run inning. Vlad homers, Springer homers, Barger homers in this game. The Jays win their 10th straight game at home, 8-6, as they sweep the Giants. Baltimore in Steinbrenner to take on the Rays, and an 11-1 Rays win. Junior Caminero, a 2-homer game. Danny Jansen goes deep, and Yandy Diaz a grand slam. In Game 2, the Rays score 3 runs in the 8th as they get a comeback win, beating Baltimore 4-3. And in the last game, it's Alex Jackson, it's Jackson Holiday, it's Ryan O'Hearn. They all go deep for Baltimore. Jansen would get his second homer in the series, but Baltimore avoids the sweep with a 5-3 win against the Rays. A's and Guardians. Jonathan Rodriguez getting his first career MLB home run. David Fry would also go deep for the Guardians. The A's would try to mount a late game comeback. Brent Rooker, Shane Langeliers go deep, but the Guardians hold on an 8-6 win in the opener. But it doesn't matter because the A's would have the home run power in Game 2. Shea Langeliers, Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtz all going deep as the A's take an 8-2 victory. But the Guardians saw that, and they come back with their own 8-2 victory. Angel Martinez with the home run as the Guardians take 2 of 3 from the A's. Tigers and Rangers. Corey Seager, a 2-run double in the 8th, are the only 2 runs that score in this game. The Rangers take a 2-0 win. Then hello, Rangers, Rowdy Tellez. He hits a 3-run home run, his first home run as a Ranger, helps Texas to a 4-1 win against the Tigers. And then in Game 3, Sunday Night Baseball, Matt Vierling, a go-ahead single in the 8th, gets the Tigers a 2-1 win, and they end up avoiding the sweep against the Rangers. Astros and Mariners, first in the AL West versus second in the AL West. Mariners have Randy Arozarena and Mitch Garver to thank as they both go deep in Game 1 to a 6-1 win. Then in Game 2, we got a wild one, back and forth. There's some drama. We end up in the 11th inning where it's the rookie, once again, Cole Young, with the walk-off hit. It's his second walk-off of his career this season. 7-6 Mariners as they look for the sweep, but would not find it. The Astros score 11 unanswered. Christian Walker, Taylor Trammell both going deep. 11-3 Houston to avoid the sweep, but the Mariners get a game back. Angels and Phillies. It's a home run party in Game 1. Schwarber, Harper, 2 Harper bombs, should I mention there. Those go for the Phillies. For the Angels, it's Jorge Soler, it's Joe Adell, it's Taylor Ward. In the end, the Angels with a 6-5 win to open this series. Taylor Ward and Joe Adell go back-to-back in the second game. Yoel Moncada would go deep for the Halos as well. But it's another Bryce Harper home run and a Kyle Schwarber grand slam. Are you kidding me? For Schwarber and Harper, these guys are killing it. 9-5 Phillies even up the series. But in Game 3, the Angels score 5 in the second. Lamont Wade Jr. getting his first home run as an Angel finally as the Angels take an 8-2 victory and take 2 of 3 from the Phillies. Royals and Marlins now. Jesus Sanchez, Kyle Stowers both going deep in the first inning to get things started. And how about John Rave getting his first career MLB home run to bring the Royals within one, a 3-run shot. And then in the ninth, it's his second career home run, a multi-homer game for John Cave. His first 2 career home runs brings the Royals within one and then ties the game in the ninth. 4 RBIs for him. It's Kyle Stowers, though, who would take this game home. His second homer of the game is a walk-off bomb against the Royals as the Marlins win this one 8-7 in the 10th inning. How about that? They come back in Game 2 with another win as Otto Lopez gets a go-ahead 2-run double in the 8th, 3-1 Marlins. But the Royals were not going to get swept. They score 7 unanswered, and Salvador Perez hits a home run in back-to-back games as the Royals win it 7-4 to avoid the sweep. Yankees and Braves now. It's a big game for the Braves. Ozzie Albies, a 3-run home run helps the Braves get the win 7-3. The final in that one. In Game 2, Michael Harris II goes deep. Ozzie Albies, another home run. But how about Anthony Volpe getting a 2-homer game? Cody Bellinger goes deep, and then tied up in the ninth, Trent Grisham hits a go-ahead grand slam to seal the deal as the Yankees take this one 12-9. And in the rubber match, Olsen and Acuna go deep for the Braves, but they're both solo shots. Judge would go deep for the Yankees. They would get some runs. 4-2 New York as they take 2 of 3 from Atlanta. Padres and Nationals now. After CJ Abrams tied it in the 8th with a 2-run home run, the Padres scored 5 in the 9th with the help of Manny Machado, who hits a grand slam for the Padres to win a 7-2 game. In Game 2, it's Nathaniel Lowe who gets a home run for the Nats, part of a 4-2 victory in that one. And then, did somebody say Slam Diego? Because it's the second Padres grand slam of the series. This time it's Xander Bogaerts who hits one in the first. Elias Diaz would go deep later on in this one. 8-1 Padres, the final. They take 2 of 3 from the Nats. We have the Reds, we have the Mets now. Austin Hayes, a 2-homer game. Matt McClain goes deep. Tyler Stevenson goes deep. 4 Red home runs, an 8-4 Reds victory in that game. The Reds scored 5 unanswered to come back in Game 2, taking a 5-2 victory. And in the last game, the Mets would avoid the sweep. They went a little back and forth there. 3-2 the final, but the Reds taking 2 of 3 from the Mets. How about that? White Sox and Pirates. Edgar Quero and Luis Robert Jr. both go deep in Game 1. The White Sox obliterate the Pirates 10-1. They had so much fun scoring 10 runs. They did it again in Game 2. They scored 6 in the 6th to get 10 more runs, 10-4 the final there. And in the final game, Miguel Vargas, he goes deep. Mike Tauchman goes deep. The White Sox win it 7-2, and it's their first sweep of the year. The White Sox sweep the Pirates on the road. Good for Chicago there. Red Sox and Cubs. This was a really fun series, and it started with Seiya Suzuki getting a 3-run homer in Game 1, part of a 4-1 Cubs win. He played a big role in that. In Game 2, the Cubs hit 5 solo shot home runs. Michael Busch, Kyle Tucker, Matt Shaw, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Ian Happ went back-to-back. Those 5 solo shots led the Cubs to a 6-0 victory. And in the final game, it's Wilyer Abreu. He gets a 2-homer game to help the Red Sox out. Bregman crushed a 3-run home run, and the Red Sox avoid the sweep, take a 6-1 victory. We head now to LA for the Brewers against the Dodgers. Caleb Durbin drives in both runs on a double and a solo home run. 2-0 Brewers, the final in that game. In Game 2, Isaac Collins and Joey Ortiz, they would go deep for the Brewers. The Dodgers would out-homer them with Ohtani, Edman, and Miguel Rojas going deep, but the Brewers still win it 8-7, a 1-run game, and another 1-run game for the Brewers. Another Ohtani home run, his 34th of the year. Esteury Ruiz gets his first homer of the year and his first with the Dodgers, but the Brewers score 3 in the 6th. They come back, they take the lead, and they win it 6-5 as Milwaukee sweeps the Dodgers for the second time this month. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Cardinals and D-backs now. The D-backs scored 7 unanswered to come and get a win against the Cardinals. 7-3 the final. In Game 2, Eugenio Suarez, a 2-homer game, his 32nd and 33rd of the year, led the D-backs to a 10-1 victory. And in Game 3, Eugenio Suarez, a 2-homer game for his 34th and 35th of the year. 5-3 D-backs as they sweep the Cardinals at home thanks to Suarez and his 4 homers in 2 games. And lastly, the Twins and the Rockies. Ryan McMahon and Jordan Beck both go deep as the Rockies take a 6-4 win. Ryan McMahon would go deep again in Game 2, but he's joined by Ezekiel Tovar and Hunter Goodman as those 3 homers helped the Rockies to a 10-6 win. They look for the sweep but could not find it. They run into a wall, or should I say a Matt Wallner, and as he goes deep alongside Harrison Bader, and 2 homers from Royce Lewis, who's healthy and crushing it once again. Watch out for that then, because if he's right, the Twins are right as they take a 7-1 victory to avoid the sweep. And that's your series recap. Alrighty, now let's dive on into the game of the weekend, and I'm taking you to Seattle for the second game between the Astros and the Mariners. This one was tense and tight. Bottom of the second is where we got started. Ben Williamson with a ground out that scored a run. Seattle was up 1-0, but the Astros are right there to tie it in the top of the third. Cam Smith, an RBI single, ties this one up at 1, but that tie doesn't last long, because in the bottom of the third, the Mariners put up a 3-spot. Luke Raley, an RBI single to put the Mariners back up, and then Dominic Canzone, a 2-run double, gives Seattle a 3-run lead. Top of the fifth now, Christian Walker, an RBI single, puts the Astros within half. It's 4-2, but then the top of the sixth, the Astros come and strike. Jose Altuve, an RBI single, puts them within 1. Victor Caratini, an RBI single, tied the game up at 4, and then Christian Walker, an RBI single, put it 5-4. Astros, their first lead of this game. Now, there was some tense stuff as well as the Mariners hit 2 Astros back-to-back hit by pitches. The Astros bench was very upset. Warnings were given out. Later on in this game, Brian Abreu hit one of the Mariners, who, the Mariners bench wanted him ejected, but that did not happen even after the warnings. I guess the umpires felt like it wasn't intentional enough. Never understand that, but that's kind of the seeding in the sense of this game here. In the bottom of the eighth, Brian Abreu did end up giving a wild pitch, allowing the Mariners to tie this game up at 5, which means, that's right, extra inning baseball. Taylor Trammell in the top of the 10th, he would get a sac fly to get the Astros a run here. Bottom of the 10th, the Astros would challenge a hit by pitch as the Mariners would score a run on the knob of the bat. Dylan Moore ended up grounding out, but a run did score. Seattle tied it up. We kept going into the 11th inning, but then this is where it would end. Cole Young had a walk-off earlier in the season when he first got called up. Now he has a second walk-off. A single down the right field line scores the winning run as Seattle walks it off. 7-6 your final, and that was a very tense and exciting game of the weekend. Good stuff overall there for Seattle. A really good series between the Astros and the Mariners. Seattle getting the game back in the division, which is always important, especially as we get into kind of the trade deadline, the dog days, pennant chase, etc. Anyways, now let's get into the news here, and the big news of the week here, or over the weekend, was the Brewers were able to extend their winning streak from 7 to 10 as they swept the Dodgers. Not easy to do, but they've done it not just once, but twice this month. They've been absolutely incredible. When you go back, beginning of the month even, you just take a quick trip to July 1st. The Cubs, 2.5 games up on the Brewers. They were killing it, though. At the time, they were 8-2 in their last 10. Well, now they're 10-0 in their last 10, and they have come all the way back to tie the Cubs. The Cubs, 59-40. The Brewers, 59-40. Not easy to do. And let me tell you, this kind of division race goes down to the last week of the season, the last, little bit. So I'm very excited to see how this division race, continues to go on. I'm very excited for most of the division races. We'll be talking about that in just a little bit here, but definitely the Brewers are hot. The team's coming together very nicely. And they've got some favorable matchups here coming up for the rest of July. They have a series against the Mariners, a series against the Marlins at home, and then, the big one, Cubs against the Brewers at home. So advantage Milwaukee there. That's going to be a very fun series next week. Going to be a big talking point coming up here. But for now, the Brewers are playing hot baseball, probably the hottest team in baseball, and definitely on the NL side. So good for the Brewers. Small market team able to beat up on the Dodgers. And speaking of beating up on the Dodgers, it seems like that's been happening a lot recently. The Dodgers are in a bit of a rough patch. When you go back to the top of the month here in July, they swept the White Sox, at home. No flowers really there. It's the White Sox, you're the Dodgers. Good for you for sweeping them. Since then, though, in those next 12 games, the Dodgers are 2-10. They got swept by the Astros. They got swept by the Brewers. They took 2 of 3 from the Giants, and then they just got swept by the Brewers once again. Definitely a tough stretch of games here for the Dodgers. Obviously, Mookie Betts has been kind of a big story there. The way he's been underperforming. I mean, he's a worse hitter this year than Volpe, and that's kind of been a bit of a punching bag for MLB fans this season, the way Volpe's played. But Betts hasn't been much better. Freeman had to exit the game yesterday, so that if he goes down, that's a bit of a tough loss here. The pitching hasn't been as reliable as the Dodgers had wanted, and it's still the Dodgers. Let's not, be like, oh, the Dodgers are throwing here. No, they're not. They're still the second seed in the NL. They're still a very good team, but you keep playing like this, there are teams behind them who are trying to catch them, i.e. the Padres, who are now 3.5 back of the Dodgers. And just for reference, when you go back to the top of the month here, the Padres were 8 games back of the Dodgers just a mere 2.5 weeks ago, and now here we are 3.5 back. So the Padres are coming slowly but surely, and the Dodgers need to pick up the pace here. They have a series against the Twins here at home before going on the road. They'll have to play Boston and the Reds. So some interesting matchups coming up for the Dodgers, but again, 2-10 in your last 12 isn't great. You got to figure it out because, again, it's a team sport. Ohtani can't carry you. The pitching needs to be better. The offense needs to be better. And again, 8 games to 3.5 in the month of July. Not great for the Dodgers. So we'll have to see if they can get out of this funk that they're in, because it is important that they do so. Moving on here, the Phillies made a move. They signed David Robertson to a deal here. Very interesting to bring back David Robertson. Of course, he was with the Phillies just a few years ago, I believe, in what was 2022, 2019 he was with the Phillies. So I believe this is the third stint that David Robertson will have with the Phillies. Of course, the 40-year-old relief pitcher, of course, way past his heyday. His best seasons with the Yankees, especially in 2011. He was an All-Star, his one All-Star, and he was with them when they won the World Series in 2009. So, he's a big-time player, but he's been around. Again, he's going to be 40 with the Phillies this year. In 2008, where he debuted, he was 23 with the Yankees. He's played 16 years. It could be year 17 for him. But he knows the game well, and he still is a pretty dominant arm. When you go back to last year with Texas even, age 39, he put up 1.7 WAR. He was 3-4 with a 3-year ERA in 68 games. That's solid. So the fact that it's been, this long since we've seen David Robertson sign with the team, coming off a pretty stellar year for a 39-year-old, is still very enticing and very inviting. Career 21.7 WAR, 177 saves. He's going to be a big piece here for the Phillies, I think, going forward here. In worst case scenario, you just you sack him off again if he really is struggling here in his 40s. But the 40-year-old will get a shot with the Phillies here. Good for him, and I think it's going to really help the Phillies in their division race when it comes to him and the Mets. So good on the Phillies for making a move here. One division race that really isn't necessary is the AL Central, as the Tigers are the first team in baseball to reach 60 wins. They are the best team in baseball. They're 60 and 40. 100 games played, they got 62 to go, but still incredible pace with the Tigers. They're 11 games up on the Guardians, 11 and a half games up on the Twins, and 12 games up on the Royals, that cluster middle trio of Central teams who always are just trying to get one game better, although they're all under 500. It's just been not the greatest showing in the Central this year compared to last year where you had 3 teams make the postseason. That is not the case here, but the Tigers, very much clear. I mean, there are some teams who are close to 60 wins. The Blue Jays are at 58. The Astros are at 57. The Cubs and Brewers at 59. Dodgers at 58. So there's still, the Tigers for being the best team in baseball. It's only by a game, half a game even. Like, there's nothing to go crazy about. But they're still the first team to reach 60. I believe they were the first team to reach 30 and 42. So the Tigers have been a top team all season long. We saw this kind of, come back last year into the postseason, beating the Astros. The Tigers had a really great run, and people thought, was it luck or were they here? The Tigers have shown that they are here. They're clearly the best team in the Central. They're probably going to be one of the first teams to clinch a playoff spot because of how bad that Central is. I mean, you go again, the games back between them all, right? Astros and Mariners, 4-game difference. Blue Jays, Yankees, 3-game difference. Phillies and Mets, half a game. Cubs and Brewers, nothing. They're tied. Dodgers, Padres, 3.5. And then you go to 11 games for the Tigers. They've been out of this world with their talent, and it's been very exciting to see. So good on the Tigers. And speaking of the 1-2s in baseball here, I just wanted to go over this a little bit because we have some matchups coming up of the 1-2 series, and I was looking at everything, what is the most entertaining 1-2, division matchup to watch right now when you go through it? Is it the Yankees versus Blue Jays, Mariners versus Astros, Mets versus Phillies, Brewers versus Cubs, Padres versus Dodgers? All 5 of these matchups in these series are it's getting my blood really excited. I'm anticipating watching these games. I love when it's a close race towards the end of the year, somewhere between a game back to 4 games back in the series, in the standings, and those top 2 teams are going at it. It's okay, a 3-game series, a 4-game series is crazy. You have so many possibilities of how a matchup ends up. And I'm just thinking, the Mariners and Astros just played. They started 5 games back of each other. Mariners took the first 2 games, so that was 3 games back. If the Mariners swept the Astros, they would have been 2 games back of them, and that's how quickly a series can change between the first seed and the second seed in the division. Instead, the Astros win that last game, so the Mariners only get a game back. But still, a game back is better than getting swept and going from 5 games back to 8 games back. It's very, very interesting to see how some of these series ends up. We're going to have to wait a little bit for the Mets and Phillies. They next play on August 25th through 27th. So 3-game series for them there. Padres, Dodgers, we're waiting a bit, August 15th to August 17th. Mariners, Astros just played, so we got our little fillings right there. I mentioned the Brewers and Cubs. They play next week. Very excited for that. If they stay tied or close to, that series could be huge. And the Yankees and Blue Jays, they had that 4-game series to start the month of July. The Blue Jays swept, and they went from 3 games back to 1 game ahead. Well, now the Yankees and Blue Jays play again. They start a series today on Monday that goes till Wednesday, a 3-game set here. And I mentioned the Jays and Yankees are 3 games back. So if the Yankees can get the sweep this time around, they would be tied for first in the East. If the Blue Jays sweep the Yankees, that 3-game lead could become a 6-game lead. So that's definitely the series to watch here. We'll talk about it in the upcoming series, but I love it when the 1-2 series played up, and I was thinking about it because I'm like, oh, Astros Mariners just played. I know the Jays and Yankees play. Let me check the other ones, and then it's like, oh, boom, Brewers and Cubs are playing next week. Padres and Dodgers, Mets, Phillies. We got to wait until mid-August, but still, like, a lot can happen in a month here. We're in July 21st, but still, like, it really is feeling like, Blue Jays, Yankees fighting for first, and the Astros and Mariners. And yeah, could there be, the Texas Rangers join the fight? Could Boston or Tampa join the fight there? Sure. In the Central, do the Reds have what it takes? Maybe not. Can the Giants get out of their funk? I mean, they're on a 5-game losing streak. Can the Diamondbacks get a surge? They're on a 4-game winning streak. If they don't trade Suarez, who knows what can happen there? So, there's still a lot that can go on. We've got 62 games left of the season. But just sitting here on July 21st, it really seems like, okay, Tigers lock up the Central. AL East, Blue Jays, Yankees. AL West, Astros, Mariners. NL East, Phillies, Mets. NL Central, Cubs, Brewers. NL West, Dodgers, Padres. Like, it really feels like it's coming down to one or the other. And then everyone else dogfights for the wild card. Very excited to continue watching these division matchups. Interested for your thoughts, if you guys have any, in the comments below. Which division matchup do you think is the best to watch right now between the 5 that I listed? And how does it feel when you get to watch some top 2 teams going at it with a lot on the line? Blue Jays and Yankees, again, you could be tied by Wednesday. The Blue Jays could have a 6-game lead by Wednesday, or it could be a 1-game difference, whether it's 2 games for the Yankees or a 4-game lead for the Jays. Like, it's a lot can be at stake. So very excited to see these teams, and then the Brewers and Cubs next week. So some good baseball coming up. But that's all the news really from the week here. So let's dive on into our hot and colds from the week. And this is going to be kind of skewed because, the week was only one series here. So who was the hottest player of the series? Well, that, of course, is the guy who I just mentioned could or could not be traded, is what the words I was looking for there. Eugenio Suarez. He was 5 for 10, had 4 home runs. I believe his last 5 or 6 games, he has 3 multi-homer games. He had 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, 5 runs, walked twice, and didn't strike out once. A 2.283 OPS. Incredible stuff from Suarez. The rookie Nick Kurtz from the A's, 7 for 12, 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run. That means 6 of his 7 hits were extra base hits. He had 4 RBIs and 4 runs. Good for a 1.948 OPS. Bryce Harper was fantastic, 5 for 12, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, a 1.795 OPS for him. Salvador Perez, 5 for 10, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, 4 walks, 0 strikeouts, and a 1.845 OPS. And how about Yandy Diaz with the Rays, 6 for 10, a double, a home run, the grand slam, 4 RBIs, 5 runs, 4 walks, a 1.714 OPS. On the flip side, Wyatt Langford struggled, 0 for 10 with 7 Ks. Francisco Lindor, 0 for 14 with 4 Ks. Dane Myers, 0 for 11, 3 Ks. Marcus Semien, 0 for 11, 3 Ks. And Trevor Story, 0 for 11 with 3 Ks. Those guys struggled in their first series back from the All-Star break here. As we'll get now into our injury updates, had a couple of injuries this weekend. Alec Bohm ended up on the 10-day IL with a fractured rib. Isaac Paredes, a 10-day IL stint for him with a strained hamstring. We saw that in the game against the Mariners. And then Jake Bowers from the Brewers, a 10-day IL with shoulder impingement there. So those 3 guys end up on the IL. Also want to mention here that Ketel Marte was placed on the restricted list from the D-backs. In case you did not know, I forget if I mentioned it on the episode on Friday, but during the All-Star break, Marte's house was apparently broken into. So the D-backs have put him on the restricted list to give him some time to handle the legal issues that have to come out of that. So Marte currently not with the D-backs, but they still swept the Cardinals thanks to Suarez. So hopefully Marte can, obviously it's a tough time for him. He's had a pretty tough year in terms of his personals and all that stuff. So all the best for Marte. Hopefully he's able to work out everything and get back on the field because he is the best second baseman in baseball, and we love seeing him play. Moving on here, we have our outstanding performances. And we had some pretty outstanding ones for sure. Spencer Strider against the Yankees, 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 8 Ks. Brandon Pfaadt was brilliant, 7 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 6 Ks. Quinn Preister with the Brewers, 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 10 Ks against the Dodgers. Brilliant stuff there. Shota Imanaga handling the Red Sox, 7 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 5 Ks. Gavin Williams was brilliant, 7 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 11 strikeouts. Tough stuff there. Joe Ryan, 7 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 11 Ks. Could he be traded at the deadline? And then, of course, Tarek Skubal, 6 2/3, 4 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 11 strikeouts. Brilliant stuff there. And those are our outstanding performances. This is usually where I would be doing a standings check. But because I did one on Friday, I mean, I'll run a quick one here. I did it on Friday. Not much has changed, in a series here, but you never know what actually could change. So I'll run through the standings really quickly here. The Blue Jays, again, as you mentioned, 3 games up on the Yankees, 5 games up on the Red Sox, 6.5 games up on the Rays, 58-41 for the Blue Jays. They're first in the East. The Central, it's the Tigers and nobody, 60-40 for the Tigers. Guardians, 2 games below 500. Twins, 3 games below 500. Royals, 4 games below 500, so each half a game there. In the AL West, the Astros drop 2 of 3 to the Mariners, drop a game, but they still have a 4-game lead there, 57-42 to the Mariners, 53-46. Texas taking 2 of 3 from the Tigers, put them at 50-50, half a game up on the Angels, who are at 49-50 there. In the NL East, the Phillies half a game lead over the Mets still. It's going to be a back and forth until they play, which doesn't happen for another month. The Braves dropping 2 against the Yankees. They continue to struggle. The Braves and Baltimore, 2 teams that I should count out, but for some reason it's part of my mind. It's based off of previous seasons, it's they could still go here. There's still 60-something games to go. If Braves or Baltimore go 40-20, or they still have it in them as a team. So we'll see, but they currently sit 4th in the East, still a couple games behind the Miami Marlins, 3 games back, in fact. The NL Central, Cubs and Brewers tied 59-40. The Brewers, that 10-game winning streak, they're hot. The Reds are back in 3rd, jumping the Cardinals. 52-48. They took 2 of 3 from the Mets, while the Cardinals got swept by the D-backs. And speaking of the D-backs, they're back to 500, 50-50 with a 4-game winning streak. The Giants, getting swept by the Blue Jays, are now on a 5-game losing streak. They're 52-48. And you do not want to be struggling when the Dodgers are struggling. Again, 2-8 in their last 10, 2-10 in their last 12. Padres, though, taking advantage. They took 2 of 3 from the Nationals and are now 3.5 back of the Dodgers. A little standings check for you there. If the season ended today, the Tigers in the 1st seed, Blue Jays in the 2nd seed, Astros in the 3rd seed for our division winners. And then the AL wildcard, Yankees in the 4th seed, Mariners the 5th seed, and the Red Sox in the 6th seed. They're tied for right there. And then the Rays a game and a half out in 7th. In the NL side, Cubs and Brewers technically 1st, but also technically 4th between them and the tiebreaker. Dodgers would be 2nd, and the Phillies are 3rd. In the wild card, of course, the 4th place is Cubs/Brewers. Mets in the 5th seed there, and the Padres in the 6th seed. 2.5 up on both the Reds and the Giants. So there is still a lot that can happen. We still have a big 2 months of the season to go here. Which brings us now to our upcoming series for the week here. We're starting with the big one, as I mentioned, Blue Jays and Yankees. The Yankees in Toronto once again. They were here at the beginning of the month, 4-game sweep. Springer was on a tear. Can the Blue Jays keep that up, or will the Yankees have an answer for them? They got Carlos Rodon and Max Fried both pitching in this series, so good stuff there for the Yankees. The White Sox are in Steinbrenner to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Baltimore heads to Cleveland to take the Guardians on. Brewers looking to extend their winning streak to 11 with a game against the Mariners here, and how long could that last for? A's at Rangers, Angels at Mets, Giants at Braves, Padres at Marlins, Red Sox at Phillies, Reds at Nationals, Tigers at Pirates, Royals at Cubs, Cardinals at Rockies, Twins at Dodgers, and the Astros taking on the Diamondbacks. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our episode here today. Thank you so much for clicking on the episode, tuning on in. A little quick Monday, get back into the swing of things. Some good baseball coming up. Again, Blue Jays, Yankees. If you're a baseball fan and you love competitive baseball, that's the series to watch. Going through it here really quickly. Carlos Rodon versus Kevin Gausman, 7:07 Eastern start today. And then tomorrow, you got Schlittler for the Yankees and Scherzer for the Blue Jays. That's another 7:07. And then on Wednesday, another 7:07, Max Fried versus Chris Bassett. These three games will be intense, will be everything you will want from competitive baseball in July before the deadline. It's going to loom. Let me know if you guys have any potential trade candidates, guys you think who could be on the move. I'll be planning on talking about some of those that potentially could be moved by the trade deadline. I'll be doing that on Friday, and who knows, maybe on Friday we'll already have some trades to talk about. So all that and more coming up over the next little bit here. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you on Friday.